curious about the Kavalier and Clay movie. Is that an ongoing project, or is that?
It is. I don't know where. I don't know where it is right now. I mean, I worked on it for most of 2006. Got pretty deeply involved with, the producer and the director and Shaven, the writer. Did a lot of stuff. We did like 10 animation tests. They spent a ton of money on pre-production. I sat in on casting, which was pretty amazing. Did a lot of movie stars attached to it. And then it all just kind of fell apart, which seems normal. It's kind of like, okay, that was great. Thank you very much. See you later.
It's a shame that movie never got made, though.
It'll still make.
Just have the mental image of it.
They'll still make.
Put out an art book with your designs, too?
Well, I was actually the head of Kavalier in the film.
Oh, wow.
Because they realized early on that they needed someone who could draw. Someone who could draw kind of old school. So.
The interesting thing about Superman to me more than anything is that Siegal and Shuster were uber geeks at the time.
Were they?
Yeah. If you know a lot about the early history, there's a new book out, Superboy by Brad Bricka, that I read recently. And they were giant fans of the pulps. In fact, they published fanzines in the 30s on shorts. And all those very derivative. There's stories in their high school newspaper that they wrote through. Reflections of Doc Savage and stuff like that. And I really like the show. Superman just a product of all these different influences.
I saw the character Superman originally was like a
bald supervillain.
Bald supervillain.
Yeah, it's like they did like these very kind of what we think now is cheesy pulp stories. And Shuster just wrote Siegal wrote them like by the hour, basically friendless when he was young.
Yeah.
And so he just wrote, lived in this kind of fantasy dream world.
Yeah.
And then Superman was just a product of all that stuff that he was consuming at the time. It's very interesting to me because it's like really the product of all these things that people were familiar with, done in a way that moved from the cult to the popular imagination. Somehow he hit with that specific perfect combination that made it huge. And I just think it's fascinating. I'm not sure what lesson to take from that. But
well, don't sell your baby for $130 to a corporation.
Yeah,
and
right.
then have your inheritors wait around for the $20 million you're promised by a court decision.
It never comes through. Well, I mean, you're working for yourself, right? It's another reason to not work for DC.
Yeah, it's at some point you gotta get off the plantation.
Well, you spend most of your career off the plantation, right? Even your Vertigo books are your books are.
It's still Warner Brothers. I mean, I don't have any. Like I said, I don't have any problem with working on stuff. I still do covers for comics. I still do work for hire stuff. Just like Steve Bissett told me a long time ago, he's like, what you want to do as a freelancer is be aware of the whole spectrum of your ability. When you work for hire stuff, give them 20% of what you have, but give 100% of the 20%. Because when I was talking to the big two, Alex Toth, back before he even had a name for it, they're like, well, we don't really know how to sell comics to kids. You can work on the licensed stuff, like Casper the Ghost or whatever it is, but it's like we don't know how to market comics to kids, which is why through this weird maze of life, like Battling Boys wound up for like young adults.
There's a lot of there's a lot of comics that are good for young adults, but the big two just don't know how to do them anymore. I mean,
classic ones I think still, like the old Fantastic Fours, or like my nephews loved those when they were like 11, 12. All-Star Superman's good for kids. I think there's a lot of stuff. It's just coming up with something like whole cloth and wanting to control it. It's silly to think about like the merchandising rights and the ancillaries and all that, which you have to think about if you're intellectual property rights owner.
So I think that we're all more aware of that now.
We have to keep fighting for that. If anytime whatever deal you sign, you got to realize like the next guy coming along is going to be offered the same deal, and if you take it, well, he signed it, therefore.
Well, especially someone at your point in your career, you say mid-career, so to speak. If you're now a person who people, exactly, you need to set the tone.
So you kind of go out on a limb if you even talk about this stuff. Like, I'm not a made man, like, Miller's got a lot of money, he can say he wants. It's me kind of caught up. I'm telling the truth.
Telling the truth to power.
Nurse Betty, make sure Pope never gets a contract with us again. You're dead to me, Pope.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll object to that. No more books for me. Send you over with like
We
a.
heard you got a deal.
Send you over with a present. Thank you. I get to work with Paul Pope now, not you.
You know what they told me? Like a lot of the money is from like licensing. Like a lot of the merchandise, it's kind of like birthday cakes and all the kind of junk you find in grocery stores with Batman on it.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
Macaroni and cheese with Superman on it. That kind of thing. That's where like you make a ton of money.
It's kind of found money.
Yeah, I mean, I think like there was always a joke back in the day when it was like, oh man, this freelance job's really tough. A friend of mine was working at DC was like, well, why don't you just start doing packaging for macaroni packages? That's where the money. Trying to draw comic books, macaroni packages.
See, could have chosen an easier life.
Yeah.
Could have chosen not to be fighting these battles all the time.
Yeah. Let me think. I'm gonna face possible penury. Spend my time in a room drawing pictures on paper with no guarantees.
Oh no, now you're gonna go somewhere else. Paul's last graphic novel. Hardly.
Well, it's, look at like Alex Toth, right? Died on the drawing board. Like there's always like good romantic. That's the way to go out. My masterpiece.
First time I saw you
Sign your name and trail off.
Yeah, that's right. I know you're a big Toth fan. I saw you on the DVD bonus feature on was it Space Ghost?
Yep.
You got a chance to read those big books I
Oh, amazing. Amazing. Yeah. In fact, I just did a cover for Fox for Red Circle.
Oh wow, okay.
And it's total. Maybe I can pull up my iPhone, I'll show you. But it's total like Toth 70s, and it was great because Darwin Cook did one, which is just amazing. And he and I both like knew him, and spent some time working with him a little bit. I didn't really work with him, but I'd send him my comics, he'd write on, send him back. Like, oh, this is you're doing it all wrong, kid. Do it like this. And you know what I mean? It's like, oh, he's like Jedi.
To take lessons from him too?
Yeah.
Have you really like consciously tried to simplify your style?
Yes. Especially for Battling Boy, because like I gotta open up the pages more color. It's intending to be something a little more caricatured, not so dense and so dark. And also, like the schedule we have now for the second book, it's got to get done really fast, so I have to continue to simplify. But sometimes it's like if you don't have any time, it's like that's the only way you're gonna get it done. So otherwise, you just keep going.
Sometimes the pressure of time helps you do better work.
Yeah,
It forces you to
exactly.
forces you to kind of cut down, trim, crisp. So that was my next question. So that's we continue with this Battling Boy series then.
Yep.
Another every year or so.
I'm looking at my editor over here. He's whistling in the wind.